Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Joyful Jessie. If you are new here, I am Jessie. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you guys a recipe that I've been wanting to share for quite some time. It's been a long time since I've made it, and that is how to make pastelon, which we also call it a Puerto Rican lasagna. And we call it a Puerto Rican lasagna because it has different layers, just like a typical lasagna would have, except that the ingredients are very different. So make sure to stick around and watch. Before we get started, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications bell so that you never miss out whenever I post a new video. So a pastelon consists of ripe plantains, ground beef picadillo, cheese, and some people put eggs in it. I like to put eggs in it, but is pretty much layered in the form of a lasagna, which is why we here at home and other people also call it a Puerto Rican lasagna. I love it because it has a nice contrast between savory and sweet. I personally absolutely love that. My kids, on the other hand, they're not a big fan of having those two contrasting flavors. They either want something to be completely savory or sweet. My husband and I absolutely love it. So there is like a gazillion million ways that you can make a pastelon. Different people have different recipes, they do different steps, they add different things. When it comes to Puerto Rican cooking, there is so many different ways that people make their dishes, and this is just the way that I like to make mine. If you have a way that you like to make your pastelon that is different than mine, go ahead and let me know below. I would love to hear how is it that you make yours. If you've never made a pastelon or you've never tried a pastelon before and you love the combination of sweet and savory, this is the dish for you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, my friends, so these are the ingredients that we are going to be using today to make our delicious pastelon. I'm gonna start by telling you what are the things that we are going to need on the filling, and that is our picadillo, and I'm gonna keep it very nice and simple. You could get so fancy with it, but I'm gonna make it nice, quick, and simple. We're going to be needing about 1 pound of ground meat, 1 tablespoon of sofrito. You can put half of this can of tomato sauce or the whole thing depending to your taste. I'm going to be using some fresh garlic. I have a lot of it at home and I love it, so I'm going to be using some of that today. I'm going to also be using some olives. You can omit the olives if you don't like them, but I just love olives, so I'm going to be using that. And we're going to be using about 1 teaspoon of adobo, and then we'll taste it later on to see if it needs a little bit more, and if it needs a little bit more, we can add it. At the end, after you cook your meat, just taste it, and if you feel like it needs a little bit more salt or a little bit more adobo in it, go ahead and put some in. Now, for the rest of our pastelon, I am going to not be using fresh plátanos. Instead, I'm gonna use this shortcut. Anytime I make pastelons, I just like to use this instead. It's just easier. I can go ahead and skip the frying process and go straight to building it. And I'm going to be using these frozen plátanos maduros, the ripe plantains. You can find this in the frozen Goya section. And the great thing about this is that anytime I've used them, they're guaranteed to be sweet and they're really tasty. So I like to use these. I'm gonna be using about 2 eggs and some cheddar cheese. Now you can choose to use a different cheese if you want to. I just like the medium cheddar cheese flavor along with my pastelon, but hey, whatever cheese you prefer. Some people like to use mozzarella cheese instead or jack cheese. I like my medium cheddar. Sometimes when I don't have this, I just use my Fiesta blend, but it so happens I actually have this. So to start off, we're going to start by cooking our ground meat. I have my burner up to like a medium high. I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of sofrito. I'm going to add my 1 teaspoon of adobo. And remember, later on, we're gonna come back and taste it after it's cooked and adjust to your taste. We're going to go ahead and mix it. I'm going to add my garlic cloves in here, and I'm gonna press it with my garlic press. And I'm gonna let it cook and brown for a little bit. After my meat is done browning, I'm going to go ahead and mix in my 1 can of tomato sauce. Then if you are using olives like I am, now is when we go ahead and mix those in. Okay, so now I'm gonna give my meat a little bit of a taste just to see if it needs any more adobo or any more salt or whatever I wanna add. Let me see. I think it's gonna need a little bit more adobo. I think I'm gonna add about another half teaspoon of adobo. I don't wanna make it like extremely salty, but it still needs a little bit more. I'm gonna adjust my burner and I'm gonna put it all the way on low, and I'm going to let my meat simmer and cook for about 5 minutes or so. Now it's perfect to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start slicing my plantains. So I'm gonna turn this on low to simmer in the back, and I'm just gonna push it to the back and let it sit there while I go do the other stuff. So in this box, you typically get about 2 bags of plantains. For this particular recipe, I only need 1 bag of the plantains. What I do with it is I wanna cut them while they are still frozen. I cut them because they are pretty thick in the shape that they come in, and I want them to be a little bit thinner. Once I'm done slicing my plantains, I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 eggs and beat them together. Now we are ready to start assembling our pastelon. Now in this particular case, I am going to use my cast iron pan to bake my pastelon in. You can use an oven safe pan or dish, and just go ahead and you can either spray some Pam in it just to make the plantains not stick. Since I'm using the same place that I used my meat in, it already has the oil from the meat, so I'm just gonna keep it like that. And then I'm going to make 1 layer of plantains to cover the entire bottom like this. Once that is done, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top of that. Then I am going to go ahead and take my meat and I'm going to add my layer of meat. So you see, it's like you're layering it like a lasagna. So I'm squeeze whatever oil I have in my meat out, and I just pat it down and make a nice even layer. After I'm done with my meat, I am going to go ahead and add my eggs. And I'm just going to sprinkle about half of the eggs on top of the meat, and then I am going to take my cheese and sprinkle some cheese on top of that as well. Once I'm done sprinkling a little bit of cheese on the top, I'm going to go ahead and put my final layer of plantains on the top, and I'm going to cover the entirety of the top with the plantains. Once this step is done, I'm going to take the remainder of my eggs and sprinkle it on top, or I guess spread it all around on the top of the remaining of my plantains. And I'm going to add whatever cheese I have left over on the top. Now that our pastelon is assembled, it is ready to be cooked, and we're going to place it in the oven and cook it at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. This is what it looks like, all the yumminess. There's a little bit of the fat around the edges from the meat, but doesn't it look just scrumptious? Yum. You are going to go ahead and let your pastelon cool and rest for about 10 minutes. Then you are going to enjoy the best part, and that is when you get to serve it and eat it. All right, so here we go. I have decided to pair mine with some arroz con gandules just because we love our arroz con gandules and our pastelon. We're gonna give it a whirl and see how it is. It is the perfect combination of sweet and savory. So there you go. That is my simple way of how I make pastelon. If you've never made it before, now is your turn to go ahead and give it a try. If I can do it, you most definitely can. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.